The only building left is the servants' quarters, which is kind of neat. It's right there on Guilford College Road in Mackey, where the lodge used to stand.
So here's the wallpaper.
Oh yeah. See, there used to be a wall here. Okay, so you had a little hall, literally a hall passage here. And in this room there was a door right up there, and you walk in. This was the holding room. This was the waiting room. Okay.
Oh, is this the doctor?
And when it was your turn to get butchered, they'd call you in here. You come in here.
Take the saw out.
Is this the
Which
hospital?
leg you want saw?
Oh, God.
Don't let Jessica start.
We were watching that show.
I don't know why they put that in here. I need to take them out. I have a lot of work to do in here, but we do have a lot of neat stuff.
That's terrible.
Bloodletting was really popular. They thought if you had the flu, you were sick, or even if you felt sluggish, you would go to the same person to cut your hair, your barber, and you would pay them to bleed you. Look, we have a bleeding bowl. Of course, they had the tools to take care of you with razors and whatnot. See it?
Yep.
Right over here.
Throw your arm in it.
Well, here's the old one. That's a reproduction one. This is real.
Okay.
Or authentic, I should say. Now, what's even cooler than that, we have a matching set of fleams. This is what they would use to cut you. See those little arrow points?
Yep.
Phlebotomy, fleams.
Oh, wow.
Cups.
And they not only
They
used,
saw it.
they didn't only,
We
Couldn't
saw
imagine.
something awful.
Yeah, I couldn't
They
even
didn't-
imagine.
they didn't always cut you to bleed you. They'd use leeches.
Yeah.
And there's an 1830s French leech jar. You put a little water in there and they keep leeches alive for a few
It
days.
was a leech. Did you get that picture?
Huh?
Did you get that picture?
Oh, it was in your pack house. I didn't think you'd care.
I didn't care if you got it, but
Well, that's nice of you. I have no idea,
that
Fred.
thing right there.
That's probably been here since
That's
before I
over
was
in the
born.
hills. I got my
Yeah, that's an old
grandma
one.
across the street. She had one.
The table was actually an examination table. And they got the plans from an 1821 example.
Had to be real short.
And this opens up, this, so you can recline.
Yeah.
But this is where you would have all the scary instruments and knives so the patient wouldn't see it until the last second. Otherwise they'd probably run out the door. Speaking of doors, that is the patient's, the privacy exit. So you would wait there, and once you were all, mangled up and had your bleeding bandages over bloody bandages, you would walk out there. I told a group of doctors that, and they started laughing, and they go, well, that's not the only reason they had that. It was for the doctors. Because the doctors wouldn't want to walk through the waiting room. They'd be going, hey, doc! Hey, doc!
Yeah.
I need my arm cut off, please. Come on.
Yeah, I heard the door. I'm going to check and make sure.
That's somebody else. That's me.
Oh, that's William. He was here earlier.
Yeah, that's that guy.
Yeah,
He
he's-
got it.
There's a dosage scale or compounding scale from the 1850s, portable.
Yep.
There he goes.
All kind of junk in there.
All kinds of.
Give you a little
This
bit of
is-
knockout.
well-
What they call it, ammonia to knock it.
You can see some of the old Prussian blue, the original blue.
Yeah.
Let me see. Right here, look, you can see what it looked like originally.
Yep.
How bright it was. You have Prussian blue, and this is probably the original paint. Old
That
blue.
looks like my paint, mine.
It is. Colonial blue. Seriously, it was probably mixed by the same person. No joke. And back in the old days when you had your house painted, you didn't go to the store and buy paint. The painter mixed your paint right on your doorstep.
And that's newspapers on that wall line there, is it? What is that over here, newspapers, or is that something like
Wallpaper.
wallpaper?
Yeah, wallpaper.
Yeah, years and years of it. Well, anyhow, what they do, they would have the pigment. Like for green, for example, what they do is they take copper bars and hang it over a boiling cauldron of vinegar, and it would condensate with vinegar, which is acidic, and then the heat would make it rust very quickly, oxidize. Well, what does copper look like when it rusts?
Green.
Okay, yeah, you scrape the green off, and then there's your pigment for your paint. What about iron? What's it look like when it roasts?
Red.
Reddish and orange.
Okay. There's your iron oxide. That's why all the barns are red. And lead. They pick lead bars. What does it look like when it roasts? White. And they scrape all that off. The lead is what makes the paint opaque, so you can't see through it. Because if without the lead whiting, you'd have to put 9 coats of paint on before it would cover. Hey William, what's up?
Because that if I painted it.
Oh,
That's how you
geez,
got
yeah.
that pink.
Yeah.
Here's
But it also makes it real durable.
Sean right there.
I'm almost done, William.
All right.
It's awesome. But that's only if you chose to eat it.
Yeah, lick it.
Or sand it and breathe it in.
Yeah.
This is the original house. And it's a hall house. Look, just like the hall room.
Yeah.
There's your dog truck. And you can see where they used to have the old scrapages. And then you have your chimney flanked off to the side. So they either built a new house right next to it, or they just took the old house and moved it up against the new one. Pretty cool. And you'll notice there really isn't any paint on these walls except for this chair rail. Used to be these ghost marks. The reason why, early on, they would take newspaper and plaster it all over these walls for insulation, keep the draft out. Matter of fact, look, you can see the bright paste marks, see them?
Yep.
You think my house didn't have newspapers?
And then they got-
cracks?
Well, listen to this. They would get tired of looking at that ugly newspaper, so they would paint it a solid color like blue, red, white, whatever, green. Then they would hire this guy who would travel around town to town in a cart that had a big chest on the back of it. And he'd open that chest up and it'd have paint, brushes, and wood-cut blocks, a whole collection of them. And you'd open it up, and these wood-cut blocks would have designs, stenciling carved into them. And what he would do is dip that in ink or
And
paint.
stamp it.
Yeah. So,
And then he would come back and add decorative flourishes to it.
they use
Hand
newspaper.
You rarely see this anywhere, but we have
I
some.
got, my walls are solid with.
This bluish color is the original wallpaper, and it was painted on newspapers from the 1820s.
It had the, wood, and then it
And then these are layers of quote-unquote newer newspapers that were, or
was.
wallpaper that was plastered over it.
I didn't know what the insulation was.
Yeah.
This is where it got burnt, wasn't it, or was that?
It was, this floor right here,
Wasn't it?
right here. This, you can see it's kind of rugged. I wanted to save every splinter of the original wood I could, so we just ran it through a planer a couple times. That's why it's kind of rough. And this was sourced from an old house they tore down near Old Salem. This stuff. And like, it's just like your house. When they had, I have pictures of this, I need to put them up. When they had all these boards taken off, you could see the joists. They were this big. They were logs that were flattened off on one side
Oh,
to
wow.
accommodate floorboard. Still had the bark on them,
Wow.
that thick.
They probably got some stuff up in y'all's neck of the woods like that, and old
But didn't they use newspaper for insulation, like behind the plaster and the board? Like they had thin
You know-
slats.
One of the things that makes this
I'll get
place,
some of this here,
this is timber frame.
this.
There aren't wood studs that go up and down.
Got
There
to
are
be.
big hewn
Oh, the
posts
wallpaper.
with diagonal brackets and